often what we'll see in these challenges, such as Whole 30, is that at the end of the 30 days, it feels like, okay, check, I did that. And so when we explore this, we can see that our human brain likes certainty. It likes to reach the finish line. It likes to tick the box that says, I have accomplished this. And so while that can feel good, when it comes to making a lifestyle change around food or exercise, nutrition, or in particular alcohol, this may not be the best mindset to embrace. Welcome to the Sober Edge podcast, inspiration for alcohol-free living. I'm your host, Terry Patterson, functional nutritionist and This Naked Mind senior coach. The Sober Edge is a place to explore the infinite possibilities on the other side of drinking. In a culture soaked in booze, discover the wonder and joy of taking a different path. Meet real people living lives of purpose and passion. Learn the truth behind the alcohol myths and get ready to be motivated, inspired, and astounded by what is possible with the Sober Edge. Welcome back to another episode of the Sober Edge podcast. This is a delight to be here with you today. I'm Coach Terry, alcohol-free coach, midlife experiencer, and functional nutritionist. So today I want to talk about the idea of a challenge. And I think that it's super interesting to explore what it means to challenge ourselves when it comes to any habit change we want to embrace, any lifestyle change we want to explore, and particularly when it comes to our relationship with alcohol. So as I record this in real time, it is June 24th, and that means many of us are considering participating in something called Dry July. Now, having been alcohol-free over 8 years, I've had many Dry Julys, even before Dry July was a thing. But I want to talk about the idea of these challenges that come up and how we can explore the best way to embrace the concept and the mechanics of a challenge for you and for me. And so first, I want to just share with you the definition of challenge. So the dictionary defines challenge, at least the English dictionary, a call to take part in a contest or competition, especially a duel, an object or query as to the truth of something, often with an implicit demand for proof, such as to challenge a legal authority. And so right away, we see that a challenge really involves creating this tension between where we are and where we want to be. And this can be a very good thing, and it can also be an area where it doesn't serve us. And so when I said we want to explore the best way to embrace a challenge for you and me, I said that intentionally because for each of us, it can look different. And I think some of this comes back to the way that we're wired. Are we somebody who feels inspired by competition or perhaps threatened by competition? Do we consider competition to be fun and a game? Do we like to gamify things? Do we like to play Wordle and check on the stats against other people, or we just like to play Wordle for the fun of it? That's just a silly example because I've recently been enjoying learning all of the New York Times puzzles, including Wordle. And, for me, it's about the fun. And when it comes to a challenge that involves 75 hard, for example. So 75 hard, I forget the gentleman's name who put the challenge together, but it really is a challenge intended to kind of spark that competitive spirit. And it's a very intense challenge where you're required to do a certain number of things each day, like read 10 pages or 10 minutes of a book and drink a certain amount of water and eat a certain way and exercise 45 minutes twice a day. And one is outside, one is indoors or perhaps outside, but one at least must be outdoors. So you're getting outside for 45 minutes a day. And right away, you can see that for some people, that could really light their brain on fire. That could feel like a rush of opportunity to prove yourself. For some people, that can feel overwhelming. Like, I can't possibly devote an hour and a half to working out a day and divide it into two 45-minute sections. And how do I get outside? The weather isn't conducive to being outdoors, and so we can start to resist all of these things. Another really common example would be Whole30. And as a functional nutritionist, I have helped people take a break. I actually teach a program called Restart, which is similar to Whole30, but it is really not intended to have an end date. So while we do a elimination diet for a period of time, the emphasis is really on changing our behavior, our mindset, our thoughts around our relationship with food and exploring how empowering making changes can be. And so often what we'll see in these challenges such as Whole30 is that at the end of the 30 days, it feels like, okay, check, I did that. And so when we explore this, we can see that our human brain likes certainty. It likes to reach the finish line. It likes to tick the box that says, I have accomplished this. And so while that can feel good, when it comes to making a lifestyle change around food or exercise, nutrition, or in particular alcohol, this may not be the best mindset to embrace because with a challenge, if there is an end date, we often find that day 31 of a Whole30 or day 31 of an alcohol-free month ends with us doubling down on the behavior we had before the challenge. Our brain takes a collective breath of relief and says, I have accomplished that, and now I can go back to the way things were before. So I want to have you first just explore what works for you. Are you someone who is intrigued and energized by challenge, or are you more like me where the idea of adding the competition to it is less encouraging and, in fact, can feel sometimes a little bit threatening and can provoke some anxiety. And so, first of all, just ask yourself really honestly, how am I wired? Do I enjoy the competitive part of something that is a challenge? Or do I operate better? Does my brain and my nervous system like the idea of exploring a gentle, ongoing way to create change? Or perhaps when it comes to your relationship with alcohol, you are enjoying one day at a time, being in the present moment and evaluating day by day, just moving in the present as opposed to looking out for a goal and then creating a lot of intention or expectation around that end goal, but perhaps derailing where you are today. So I'm not suggesting that there's a right or a wrong way to do it, but I am offering that there might be a wrong or right way for you. And so first step would just be to explore. Are you someone who thrives in competition and enjoys a challenge, or are you wired slightly different? And so that doesn't mean you can't participate in a Whole30 or an elimination diet or a 75 hard or a dry July. In fact, that could be very helpful for you. But I think what we then need to understand is that we have to help our brain explore the thought that we're going to do this thing with intention and intensity, and then it's going to end. And I actually think that's helpful for all of us because we want to explore how this change can continue to impact our life. And we've seen it again and again. And I know that it's possible or likely that you have also experienced where you get very excited about something and you start with that fresh burst of motivation. And then after a while, it kind of falls off. Going to the gym 4 times a week was fun in the beginning, and now, it feels harder to make it on a regular basis. Walking your dog every day when you got a new puppy seemed like a great idea, and now sometimes a day or two goes by and there's not a lot of motivation around continuing with that effort. And so when it comes to something like Dry July, I want to invite you to set a clear intention about why you want to participate in Dry July. If there is a thought in your head that starts with this phrase, I just need to take 30 days off from alcohol. There's nothing wrong with that thought, but I want to ask you, what is the follow up thought? Because. Tell me the because behind it. Because if your because is because I want to prove to myself that I can, or I want to see if I feel better, or I want to explore how to do this forever, or I'm joining it to prove to other people that I don't have a problem with alcohol, or perhaps to prove to myself. Those are all really interesting, much more interesting than the original thought, I want to take 30 days off alcohol. And the reason they're so interesting is because they help us explore what's underneath that. And if you have that follow-up thought, I just need to prove to myself and everyone in my family that I don't have a drinking problem, I can do 30 days. That 30-day challenge might be helpful for you. And in fact, it might be easy. You know at the end of 30 days that you're going to go back probably to drinking. You're not really interested in a permanent change. And once you get to the 30 days and prove to yourself and everyone, then you can go back to business as usual. And that's one thought. However, even if you are wanting to prove to yourself and others that you can go 30 days, I want to invite you to expand that thought just a little bit. And instead of ending with just the behavior, I want you to see if you can layer in some emotion and some curiosity and some thoughts into that journey. So, really, 30 days off of alcohol is a behavior. And many of us can do 30 days with the knowledge that it has an expiration date, right? At the end of 30 days, we will have a break from not drinking. And that can be a place where the effort or the behavior is really the only thing we're focused on. And so, if we instead invite into it some thoughts, some curiosity, some emotions, we might explore what changes during these 30 days. What do I notice at 4 days, at 7 days, at 14 days, at 19 days? Am I sleeping better? Am I feeling less anxious? Am I experiencing more energy? Does my gut feel different? Am I waking up without the snooze alarm? All of these things can be a part of that 30-day Dry July challenge, but we also can go a little deeper. And it's when we put some depth into these challenges, as far as the why and the intention, that we can really kind of soak up all the juice from that challenge. And so there's nothing wrong with a challenge. And in fact, it can be a great way to get more information. And so today, I want to challenge, yes, challenge all of you to explore, what is the end goal? Is there an end goal? Is it okay to not have an end goal? Is it okay to have this experience of being in the exploration phase? And, I talk a lot about thoughts, emotions, and actions. And in fact, I have a video series and a YouTube channel where I share all of my Tea with Terry videos, and they're short little 4 to 7 minute videos. Feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'll drop a link in the notes if you want to be a part of those. But it really is to help us understand that an action such as 30 days off of alcohol doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens with a thought and an emotion. And so while we change the behavior, if we don't explore the thoughts and the emotion, then we can miss out on the opportunity to build in the depth of a challenge. And this, again, it could be a fitness challenge, it could be a nutrition challenge, it can be an alcohol challenge. And there's so many ways to create this opportunity. And I really do see it as an opportunity. I had a client once who was sharing with me that she had a goal to run a marathon. And so she did. She worked really hard. She got herself to a place where she could run a marathon, and she did run a marathon. And in fact, I believe she ran 3 marathons total. And then she stopped running and not only doesn't run marathons anymore, but doesn't really run anymore, doesn't use that part of her ability. And it's an interesting place to explore for us when we fall away from things. And so I think we always can serve ourselves well by going back and asking, what happened? Did I set the intention to run a marathon, or did I set the intention to become a marathon runner? Because becoming a marathon runner involves exploring why we run, and there's no end date. As soon as my client ran that marathon, she could check the box and be done. Now she can say, oh, yes, I am a marathon runner. But to continue running, she might be better served by having the identity or the thought, I am someone who runs. I am a runner. And there's no exploration, or I'm sorry, there's no end date to that line of exploration, that inquiry in our mind. So I want to invite you that when we think about thoughts, emotions, and actions, the thought is really powerful. Setting yourself up for a dry July and what that looks like and what the thoughts are around it and what our intention is and what our end goal, if you will, is. And then asking, when I tell myself this, whatever that thought is, I want to improve my health, so I'm going to take 30 days off of drinking. I want to prove to myself that I can, so I'm going to take 30 days off of drinking. When you say that thought, I want you to really explore what emotion comes up for you. Do you feel anxious? Do you feel pride? Do you feel relief that it doesn't have to be forever? Ask yourself these questions because the thought and the emotion together is going to create that behavior. It's going to make a huge difference when you get to the end of the 30 days, whether you continue, whether you have answered any of those questions about how is it making me feel, how is my energy level, how are my relationships, how's my relationship with myself during these 30 days. It's going to make a huge difference, that thought and emotion, on what happens at the end of your challenge. So I want to encourage all of you to explore a dry July. And perhaps that dry July, if you're alcohol free like me, maybe the dry July is no complaining for the month of July. Maybe that dry July is exploring no sugar for the month of July. Maybe that dry July is exploring, no, I said complaining. I'm trying to think of another example. Perhaps it's just exploring your relationship with yourself. Perhaps you're going to read 10 pages of a book every day and do part of that 75 challenge. So the idea is to just explore challenge and to recognize that the intention behind that word can be whatever we want it to be. It doesn't have to be just a behavior change, and it doesn't have to be for a limited time. I want to invite you to explore what that looks like, and I hope you will, and I hope this serves you well. All right, go out and make it a great July. I'll see you next time. I want to thank you for tuning in to the Sober Edge podcast. This is a place for important conversations and a safe place to question everything you thought you knew about drinking. If you're looking for your sober edge, I want to invite you to connect with me at thesobernutritionist.com, where you can grab my free resource, Becoming More, a guide to loving your sober life. And I would be so grateful if you enjoyed this podcast, if you would leave a rating and review, as it will help more people find their sober edge.